Transition Awareness Breathing. Feeling grounded for both children and parents is essential for healthy living and learning. Join Eartha Powell on this series for tips and tools for creating a harmonious environment for learning. Transition Awareness Breathing will help you and your child find an individualized path to tackle change, promote lifelong learning, and discover new approaches to calmness.
Welcome to Transition Awareness Podcast. I am so happy you're back and joining us. Today, we have a special podcast. I have three wonderful young ladies with us today, and we're going to talk about plans, puzzles, and teens. Yes, that's right. I have my daughter and a couple of her best buddies on the line, and of course, we have their parents' permission. So I would like to introduce my daughter, Kareen. Kareen, can you say hi?
Hi.
How about you introduce your friends, just the first names only?
I have Abby and Sophia.
I am so glad that you guys are on the show today. It is so wonderful. What we're talking about today, transition awareness breathing. Usually I teach at the school as a enrichment program, but since we've been in quarantine, I've been doing the transition awareness breathing on the Zoom. And so we've had our last class and everybody, my students have graduated. And I really wanted to reach out to the 8th graders, to the teens, because I think sometimes teens are very, very special. You have different needs right now than when you were in elementary school, and your plans are changing. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about plans and puzzles, okay?
All right.
Before we get started, I would like to thank my producers, and I would like to thank Web Talk Radio for giving me the platform to bring this to our listeners, and to my producers, Mary Lou and Sam, for helping produce the show and making it available for all my listeners. So let's get started. Let's start with Kareen, and then we'll move to Abby, and then we'll move to Sophia. But I'm going to give you some multiple choice. So when we talk about plans, what kind of person would you describe yourself as? Spontaneous or structured?
Well, for me personally, I feel like I can be a little bit of both. I feel like it depends on the situation.
Okay. How about you, Abby?
I kind of have to go with Kareen on that. I feel like I can be both. It just depends on the situation.
Okay. And how about you, Sophia?
I'll have to say what Kareen and Abby said. Both, because it also depends on the situation and also on what the mood I'm in at the moment.
Okay.
I could be spontaneous or structured, so it just depends on how I'm feeling and the situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's take it a step further. So it sounds like you ladies are a little bit of combination of both, depending on the situation. So let's look at a situation. How about at school?
I think I'm mostly structured at school. Mm-hmm. I don't really find myself doing spontaneous stuff.
Okay.
I feel like at school, I feel like I'm just more structured.
Structured. Okay. And Sophia?
I'll say both, but at the same time, it'll be majority of structure. Mm-hmm. But sometimes here and there, a spontaneous moment where I want to do something and I end up doing it. But most of the time, it's usually structure for school.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that has a lot to do with the school environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think at the 8th grade level, there's too much spontaneous stuff going on. That probably wouldn't be a positive outcome.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so how about when you're shopping?
Oh, spontaneous all the way.
Yes.
It's like if I see something I like, I just go for it. I don't really think about it that much. Uh-huh. But it depends. Sometimes I'll give myself a day to think about it, but most of the time I'm pretty spontaneous when it comes to shopping.
Okay.
Yeah, same here with me. I feel like I'm more spontaneous because, I could be both, but I'm just more spontaneous.
Okay. Sophia?
I would say both, but it depends. Like, I'm those like type of people that try to save their money, and if I see something that I want, I think like, is it going to be here like in a few weeks when I might come back? But if I think it's not, then I get it on the spot. So it's mostly structure and spontaneous. It just depends how I think it's going to be.
Okay. Now I'm going to give you one more situation. What about on a vacation? Structured or spontaneous?
Well, I guess it can be a little bit of both because you can figure out what you're going to do on vacation. So that's kind of structured. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you're kind of letting loose and doing whatever you feel. So I feel like that's also spontaneous, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, for like vacation, like I kind of go with more spontaneous because like I think life has its past, so I just follow it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a little both again. Because like in the beginning of like a vacation, we try to, like, my family try to have like a little plan.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we kind of go off the plan, so it's like structure and spontaneous. So it's both at the same time. So.
Okay. So it sounds like on vacation, you have a little bit of a mixture, and like shopping, maybe some people are more spontaneous, and Sophia, you're kind of like a little bit of both. Mm-hmm. That's what it sounds like. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you ladies, I want you to kind of remember, kind of put how you're feeling when you're in your spontaneous environment and when you're in your structured environment. Kind of keep that at the background of your mind, like a sticky note someplace. And you guys are moving into a new school, new schools, new grade. A lot of changes are going to be going on. So what kind of plans have you made as far as making a transition from 8th grade to 9th grade? Have you made any plans?
I've been thinking about how I need to accept that things are going to change, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I can't stick to the same things that happened at my old school because things are going to be very different, and you can't really move on if you just stick to what you've been knowing. And so you really have to change and go with the flow, Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, like my plan, I usually just like try to be more of like still like focused, but like just try to, not change like who I am, but just kind of like go towards different directions. Like, with my old school, I would always go with one direction, but like maybe now that I'm going to another one, just kind of go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
I think like, I was just like been thinking how it's going to be. So like I try to like think of ways like how I could interact, even though they might not like some of the things. Like we might have differences in the things we like. Mm-hmm. I try to like think what they might have, and have like what Karen said earlier, knowing that it's going to change and I can't stay like how it was before, to keep on moving forward. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like mentally preparing myself that like something is going to change.
And how important do you think, Sophia, how important is it to you to get yourself mentally prepared, getting ready for change? How important is that to you, Sophia?
I see it as important because like for me, yes, because if I want to keep on focusing on my work and on other things in my life, I have to, if I don't prepare myself ahead of time, I'm going to end up in a wreck. And like, I'm not going to want to, like, I'm going to be everywhere at the moment. But if I start preparing now, I could at least not take so much of the like hit of change. Mm-hmm. And I'll be like, okay, I know things are changing. Let's just keep on doing my work. Let's try to meet new people and let's explore. But if I don't, then I'm going to be like kind of clueless on what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Abby? Why is it important as far as planning for change for you?
I feel like it's important for planning for change because like, if I don't like plan sometimes, like it's just a wreck and it doesn't ever turn out good. And I feel like if I were to plan out things like, okay, I'm not going to know a lot of people here, so let's go ahead and try to make friends, like be yourself. Like I have to make those kind of plans or else I'm just going to kind of show up and I have to improvise. And I'm not very good at improvising. So I have to create a plan, and it makes my life a whole lot easier.
Okay. And Kareen, how important is change for you in planning for change?
For me personally, change can be a little hard sometimes, especially if I'm used to something. But I feel like if I have if I notice it ahead, then ahead of time, then it's easier for me to accept the change, move with it. Because like it really depends. Like sometimes I can really go with the flow, and then other times I really just dislike change. But I feel like if it has a positive outcome, the way I see it, then I feel like it's easier for me to change, you know?
It really is important to know yourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
It sounds like you ladies have been thinking about it, and you realize that come, for sure September, that you will be in a different environment. And so it sounds like you're preparing for that.
Yes.
That is really wonderful. I wonder if you would mind participating in it's an awareness exercise with me. It only take a second, okay?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Imagine, and this has something to do with what we're talking about, so just got to bear with me. Imagine you're in the car with your parents or whoever drops you off at school, and you woke up at the same time, you prepared yourself at the same time, and you're going down the road, in the car, and you notice the traffic is starting to back up. There's been a major traffic accident. It is, school starts at 7:45. And it is now 7:30, and the traffic is backed up. What is your response? What's going through your mind, Abby?
What's going through my mind, usually when that kind of happens, what goes through my mind is like, well, what's going to be the reaction if I show up late? Like, what is going to be like the teacher's reaction? And obviously it's not a very big reaction, but I just kind of think of like what the outcome is going to be, or like create like an imagery of like what I think is going to happen.
Okay. Kareen?
For me, this is going to sound different, but whenever we go to school and we're late, I don't know why, but for some reason I don't really get nervous or stuff like that. I don't know why. I feel like it's just because I don't really care if I'm late to school. And I probably should care if I'm late to school, but I don't know. But I feel like if I was going to high school, then I probably would care a little bit. But I don't know. It's kind of, it's different,
Okay. Sophia?
I think it, let's see, like at that moment I would like, oh no, I'm going to be late. That's not good. I might have extra work. But then like when I get to the campus itself, to the school campus, I end up being like, okay, I'm here. At least I'm not missing the whole day.
Yeah.
At least I'm here and I know I'll get my work done. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Can you imagine, I think we've all been in that situation, how was your body responding to that? Without the words, can you remember what your body response was, Abby?
For like, I with my body response, I felt like it was just like, oh gosh, like, oh no, we're going to be late. It just was like very nervous.
Nervous. Is your breathing different?
No, not really necessarily my breathing, but I felt like I did like get like a tap on my foot. Like my foot was like tapping, kind of like, tapping, oh God. Yes.
Okay. Kareen?
Sometimes I get a little shaky. Like my hands will shake a little bit if I'm really nervous for something. And I sometimes I kind of get shortness of breath a little bit, not too much, but I just have to breathe and then that's solved. But It's really just shaking for me.
Okay. And Sophia, what's your body doing?
I know what I have a tendency to do at that moment. I usually start looking around and seeing like where else, like just in case of like, did anything else happen? And then also I noticed like when I start getting a little nervous, my palm of my hand starts to sweat a lot. Okay. So like I have pretty bad palm sweat, and then I start looking around.
Okay. So end of exercise. So what you all have described is how your body reacts to maybe a little stress or a little anxiety.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Does it change if the scenario is, let's say you're leaving the house and you know that a certain road is going to be closed? So, your parents will say, come on, Kareem, let's leave early because some sort of street is going to be closed. Does your body kind of respond the same way when you've made a alternative plan?
For me, not really, because like I know that there's an alternative plan and it didn't like exactly hit us. Yeah. So I definitely know to plan for that plan.
Kareem?
For me, I also wouldn't get nervous because I know you're giving like what's best, so I just go with it.
Oh, thanks. Sophia?
I think it's I start getting a little anxious because sometimes like I don't know which way we're going.
Okay.
And like for example, my mom be like, okay, we're going to your school, but we're gonna have to change the route. I'm like, ooh, which way are we going now? I get like a little anxious and like want to explore a little bit, but I don't get really nervous because I know I'll still make it to the school.
Not quite the sweaty palm.
No.
Maybe. Okay.
No.
So, ladies, I want you to, when we talked about, how we respond to change and what's our plan, it's almost like as we're maneuvering through traffic because, at this point in our lives and your lives, you've been through certain changes and you've had to make spontaneous changes. You have that experience behind you. So, as you go forward into your new environment, I'm wondering, do you have like a disaster plan, a fallback plan, like when you get to high school? If you think things are not going to go as planned, what's your backup plan? What's your disaster plan? Am I kind of clear, or what do you think? I'll just put it as you. What do you guys think?
I feel like for like my disaster plan, I just kind of go with the flow at that point. I just feel like that's when I'm just kind of like, well, some things are going to happen. So if my plan didn't work out the first time, I feel like it's just a way of just like saying like, just calm down, like just let us take its course.
Okay.
By disaster plan, you mean so like if something doesn't go our way, what do we do?
Yes.
Oh, I go with the flow, but I feel nervous and I probably won't feel as prepared.
Okay.
I think for me, it would be like what Abby and Karen said, kind of go with the flow, but then also having the mindset that all the other students in my class are most likely going through the same thing. And to like kind of not worry about it, but to be like, okay, let's try not to do it. But then knowing that I'm not alone and I'm on the same boat with all my other colleagues in my class and for next school year.
So the comfort of knowing that you're not alone helps.
Yes. For me, yes.
And knowing that it's okay to kind of be spontaneous and not so rigid and structured helps. Is that right, you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you enter your new environment and you're with new people, how important this is kind of maybe a futuristic type of question. How comforting or how important will it be like to maintain these a lot of your social media relationships? Do you think that will change?
It really depends on like, I guess like the situation, but like more of the person for me, because I feel like there are some people who are definitely going to want to stay in contact even through social media, going to different schools, or there's going to be those other people who are we're just going to drift apart. So it really does, for me, depend on like the situation and more of the person.
Okay.
Same for me. It depends on who you are. It depends how close I am with you. If I'm really close with you, I'm going to try to keep contact, and I will try my best to keep contact. And honestly, I've known some people for so long to the point where I don't have to text them every day, and nothing is awkward between us, between like a few weeks later, a month later, like nothing is awkward, you know?
Yeah.
I think for me, it, like what Karen said, it depends on how close to the person I am, because for like some of my classmates, we kind of have like majority of the things we like are opposite. So like it's kind of hard to like come up with a conversation, even though it's still possible. I don't really talk to the person. So like with like Abby and Karen, I can have a conversation with them. So like with them, I'll most likely keep in contact through social media and all that stuff. But for my other classmates, it depends on if they want to keep on talking, and then for their situation and how they're going to handle the change too.
So, and we're almost about ready to wrap up. So it sounds like, as far as plans and puzzles sometimes is a menagerie, a lot of different assortment of things. You all, sounds like you have a plan of, number one, kind of being spontaneous and, not letting things fall apart. You might be kind of structured. You are sounding like you have some kind of a disaster plan, that if things don't go as planned, then you just kind of go with the flow. And you might want to remember that, as Sophia pointed out, that the other students around you are probably going through the same thing, right?
Right.
Probably.
Yeah. And I'm sure your new teachers are going to be there, and they're going to have different schedules. So that might help too, because I don't think anybody's gotten any schedules from the new schools yet. Have you guys gotten any schedules yet?
No.
Yeah, so we're a little bit early. But having a plan and being spontaneous is all part of moving forward. And that's why you guys are eighth graders. And that's why you guys are so prepared for ninth grade. You guys are awesome. You are very articulate. It sounds like you have some things already set, in plans. I just, would like to compliment you on how well that you articulated and shared with me some, these are not big things, but things you're going to have to be dealing with when you enter high school. And, social media buddies, they may change and some may stay the same. And that's okay too. And as your friendship circle grows, I'm sure that will change a little bit too. As I would always like to say, because I know you guys, very dearly, be careful of the social media, and that's just this earthy part of me. Be careful of the social media. I know how wonderful you guys are, and so I'm sure your parents have talked to you about the safety, and so keep that in mind as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me on Transition Awareness Podcast. I would like to congratulate you guys on graduating from middle school. It's a big step for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a big achievement.
Thank you so much.
As you're going through some of these changes, I just want to encourage you to one thing that Kareen had mentioned is to take a breath. If you could do it right, just kind of practice. You just take a deep breath in your nose and then you blow it out. And just remember one thing is when you're blowing your breath out, the exhale, the blowing out breath should be longer than the inhale breath. And just kind of keep that as a gift and remember. Maybe later on when school starts, if you guys have time, maybe you can join me for a follow-up podcast. What do you think about that?
Sounds fun.
That sounds great. I'll do it.
Okay. And if you think of any topics you would like for us to discuss, please be welcome to bring it to the podcast. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much for another time at Transition Awareness Podcast, and thank you, ladies, for spending time with me.